Silver hydroperoxide with the additional ingredient of MSM is a so potent recipe for good health. It's unbelievable, it's uncanny, and I guess it's because the addition of the MSM adds not only sulfur but oxygenated sulfur, which means more oxygen is being added to this mixture than what was previously merely added by the hydrogen peroxide reacting with the colloidal silver. So it's a very oxygenated product. Apparently the sulfur helps in some fashion, and I'm beginning to suspect that Louis Kervran's idea of biological transmutations starts to become a reality when the MSM is added to silver hydroperoxide. In other words, the ability for the body, for the physiology at the cellular level, to change what it has into what it needs to have, but doesn't have available. And Louis said the easiest method was the addition or subtraction of either oxygen or hydrogen atom from a compound to make something else. But there were other routes that he believed the body was taking, or any physiology. I mean, it was amazing the kind of studies he did, or he related that others had done on this topic of transmutation, or sometimes you'd call it spontaneous transmutation, like when dehydrating fruit. The sugar, the fructose, would turn into sucrose, and it was non-reversible. When you hydrated the fruit, it wouldn't go back to fructose, it would stay sucrose. And they did other experiments, germinating seeds in highly sterilized, purified sand and distilled water in a glassed terrarium, environment. And the mineral composition of the sprout was not the same as that of the original seed that it sprung from. It was a different mineral composition. Certain minerals disappeared, certain minerals appeared, and the only thing available was the air in there and the water that was in there, but nothing was added, nothing was opened up during the growth process. So it's a very interesting book. It's, I think, from 1974, Biological Transmutations by Louis Kervran, translated by somebody because he's French. Kervran is spelled Kervran, Kervran, Louis, a French name, Louis. So I'm beginning to suspect that because this MSM increases the potency of silver hydroperoxide to such a degree that you need only take a tiny little sip of this occasionally during the day between meals to really boost the system. And when I say boost, it took me a while to figure out why I was having depression in the morning. It's because I wasn't eating. And the food was not able to move along the intestinal tract because there was no food behind it to push it along. And so it sat there too long, turning into toxic stuff and degrading. And I thought, well, it was because of my antifreeze poisoning. Yeah, that might be true, but now that's not true anymore. So now I get depressed because I'm not eating. And so I got up off my fanny after I had spent a lot of time trying to sleep off the depression and drinking lots of water, which was, fine. But then I thought, I think I got to eat something. And this was early in the morning. I normally don't eat in the morning. And I thought, what, just in case I get hungry, maybe I should start a bowl of granola soaking, because I have bad teeth, so I can't eat granola as it is. I have to soak it for at least an hour before I can eat it. So I got a bowl prepared. And then after a little while, I'll take a spoonful, and I just washed it down with a huge glass of water. So I was very dehydrated. I not only did I need to eat food, but I needed to drink a lot of water. And then after that, went through my system a little bit. Then I thought, and I started eating some more of the granola, and I thought, I think I'll have some toast, and I think I'll have some toast with some nut butter on it. Before you know it, I had a lot of food. I pooped at least 4 times. And that was just half the day went by. And my stomach got really bloated. And then I started having cramping. So I realized, when I get foot cramps, it's time to take magnesium or bathe, soak the body in water because I'm dehydrated, actually. But when I get stomach cramps, it's because I lack calcium. So I took a Coral calcium capsule, and then I still had some cramps, and I took another one. And all this gas started to come out, along with some diarrhea, and more pooping. And then my bloat went down. So I'm not used to taking MSM. I usually stay away from sulfur because it gives me a lot of gas, but this MSM is like a stool softener, you know, which is good. Among other things, you know, it apparently takes wrinkles out too, you know. It's good for rejuvenation, so it's perfect to combine with silver hydroperoxide, you would think. So, by and large, what I foresee is that I may be able to put on weight, and this would be uncanny because I've never been able to put on weight my entire life, and I've tried roundabout workaround approaches for doing that, like swimming in water that's below 80 degrees, like 76, 77 degrees, once or twice a week, and after 6 weeks my liver would kick in and I'd start to have a humongous appetite. But then they'd go and close the pool. So there went my fix, my swimming fix. So this is something I get to do myself. I just distilled water, keep all my distilled water, you know, topped off. I keep a few gallons handy, stockpiled, and then I keep stockpiled silver hydroperoxide, several quarts, actually a few gallons, more than a gallon, 2 gallons or less. I keep 2 gallons or less of silver hydroperoxide handy. I keep several gallons of distilled water handy, and I haven't been adding MSM to all the silver hydroperoxide. I wait till I'm about to use one pitcher, which is a 2-quart pitcher. I'm about to use it, and then I put in the MSM, but I think what I'll do now is do it like at least the day before, because it seems to cause outgassing. And I know exactly how much, you know, I've gotten a routine now. I know how much MSM to add to that pitcher, 3 tablespoons of crystalline powdered MSM, 3 level tablespoons. And I know how long to run my colloidal silver generator. This is the liter size. I'm still using my last remaining working unit. 3 hours. I run it for 3 hours with the amplitude knob turned up on high. And then the food grade 35% strength hydrogen peroxide that I add to it, I still eye it. It might be a tablespoon and a half or a tablespoon. I'm not quite sure. I kind of eye it, you know. I go by visual, so I don't really know exactly how much I'm adding. So those steps have gotten routine, and I've gone back to using the silver hydroperoxide with this additional MSM in the water pick, but I put in very little, just a little on the bottom to cover the base of the receptacle, and then I add warm tap water to it, because I really, it's so potent with this MSM added to it that boy, I can't avoid a window here. It's so potent that I have to use less, and that's good. I can feel it. It's like rocket fuel. It's so potent. So I use less in the water pick. I drink less, just a tiny little sip. You know, I might take a sip. You know, hold it in my mouth, and I don't have to worry about holding it in my mouth and causing mercury to come out of my fillings and you know, poison myself if I should swallow that. I can hold it. It's okay. The sulfur's there to deal with it, you know, to deal with the mercury, either prevent it from coming out or bind with it if it should come out. So it's whatever's going on, it's good. It's a good thing to include that MSM. The silver hydroperoxide by itself is like unfinished product or business. It's got a caveat to it. It's a strong oxidizer still, and the sulfur's there as a safety check, because it's still going to have that oxidative quality. I can feel it. It still burns, but the silver is there to help us be a little more reasonable and not overdo the burning, not overdo, you know, the consumption or the use, so that because the sulfur is kind of like brings about a sensitivity to be more reasonable and not overindulge in something that is slightly hazardous. It's still an oxidizer. Just because the silver's been added, just because the MSM has been added, doesn't totally eliminate the oxidating quality of the peroxide part. It's still there. So it's still a hazard, it's still a risk in using it, but the sulfur really helps me be more reasonable, more sensitive to the fact that, hey, this is not a perfect thing, so deal with it with a certain level of caution and moderation. Oh my God, I've never liked that word. Maybe because people used it too much in my direction, and I didn't like the way they were using it. Anyway, so it's really helping the physiology, the intestinal tract function properly, and my God, it's really awesome stuff. It's very potentizing and powerful, and oh God, it's everything I could possibly want. I'm still a vegan now. I've turned back to being a vegan. And my only concern is B12, so I take a B complex, methylated B complex, from Thorne Research, I think it's called, Thorne, Thorne Research. I got it at Amazon. They sell it in pairs. You can buy them 2 bottles at a time. Very reasonable, very good. It's got all the B vitamins in there, and they're all methylated. And it's in a vegetarian capsule, so it's perfect for me. And then calcium carbonate. Those are the only 2 vitamin mineral supplements that I actually feel the need to take. I don't have to take potassium iodide anymore because the sulfur is there to protect me, so I don't get mercury poisoning. I don't need magnesium. I haven't felt the need for taking kelp. So it's... I do get some dairy products into me when I have a certain soup, tomato soup. I think they put milk in there. But I mainly eat it because I like the tomatoes. So occasionally I have some dairy products, but only because it's been thrown in there. But basically I favor a vegan diet because that's my nature. That was the way I was kind of conceived and developed in my mummy's tummy. So it's kind of like my nature to go in that direction without even thinking about it, provided I'm not under severe stress that would cause me to go AWOL and just eat whatever I can possibly eat. Oh, well, once or twice a year I do have raw fish. It does help. It has helped. And it seems more helpful than dairy products. And dairy products seems to be problematic for me, along with eggs. It's just, they don't agree with me. But the fish does have to be raw, and so raw, I think it's called codliveroilshop.com. It has this product that's a blend of raw butter. Actually, yeah, it's got butter in it, and raw cod liver that's been fermented in a lactobacillus culture. The Viking style recipe, an old Viking recipe. Yeah, it's unbelievable how powerful this is. And so I don't have to soak in the bathtub to get it through the skin to bypass the digestion, because for some reason, I guess what my problem was the potential for poisoning because of the mercury in my mouth. And now that the sulfur is there, it's not an issue. And because it's so powerful, it's like none of it goes to waste now that the MSM is there with it. There's something about the MSM that causes the silver hydroperoxide to not go to waste. Every morsel of it is utilized by the physiology. It increases efficiency of utilization so drastically, it's like, wow. I mean, that's the whole point, is that we don't waste what we ingest. Too often we're told that's the case. Frances Moore Lapp said that in her book. As much as 60% of our food goes to waste and is not digested. Something along that, or either that or it was 60% we utilize and we throw away 40%, and that's with a good physiology on a good day, So I can imagine what I waste is like, woo, which means it turns to shit, and I got to get rid of it, and it does me no good, except adds to the burden of backing up my colon with a bunch of degrading food material. So this seems like it improves the physiology, and digestion really is the first thing to rejuvenate, to make sure that's top-notch before anything else can be improved upon. So it's no small wonder I haven't had much progress with my pee-pee trying to grow a foreskin, because my liver, my pancreas, my spleen, my adrenal glands, my kidneys, maybe the gallbladder, I don't know, stuff like that are holding the rest of me behind. So it looks like it's possible to bring that stuff up to snuff so that the rest of me can function or begin to improve. It's like your worst parts of you have to improve first, that are dragging you, so that all of you can move forward in a balanced way, so that nothing is excessively better than any other part of the physiology. And that makes sense. And that looks like what's happening now. I think the MSM is going to help. It is helping. I don't have to think it'll help. I can see the difference is humongous. It's just like night and day. Literally.